Welcome to the podcast that questions everything, from conspiracies to philosophy, from science to religion. We will be looking at the construct of the illusion, and as always, we will question everything. Hello and welcome to another episode of Everything's an Illusion, the podcast where we question everything. I'm your host, Robb, once again joined by the bearded master of sci-fi, Mr. Greg Andrew.
Good day to you all, it is Greg Andrew here. Wee song there for you guys.
And you even get such masterful voice. Look at that.
I should have been Les Mis.
the tone deaf version.
The tone deaf version, aye.
So what do we have in store for these good people today? We have a bit of the Bock Saga, Trump Clinton, self-publishing, documentaries, Tony Robbins, and Going Clear, the Scientology, and then a wee post about the creative industries.
Sounds good, my man, sounds good.
Right, so I'll just kick off straight on with the Bock Saga. I was listening to a podcast, the Higher Side Chats. Now if you're into like pure conspiracy, listen to the good stuff. Higher Side Chats, great podcast to listen to, by a crazy American boy from California. The Bock Saga is all about a guy, a family called a Bock, and essentially, done in a nutshell, millions of years ago, the sun, the very entity of the sun, gave humanity life by mixing a monkey and a goat to create humanity. And then humanity lived in a kind of Eden where Helsinki is, and that place was called Hell, and that was the North Pole before the axis changed. And Hell, which is now Helsinki in Finland, Hell had 24-hour day of sunshine, and for millions of years they had a kind of almost like the Ring saga of Lord of the Rings and other. And remember, Lord of the Rings, this is quite fascinating. Lord of the Rings, Tolkien was a history professor, and he talked about it was the northeastern kind of European histories that he was writing into the kind of thing. And the Bock Saga talks about rings. It's all about these various rings, different families, and there's a lot of that, and it's all about trees, and quite interesting, but there's some sort of weird... Anyway, so that was Hell, and a few of the main crux of the Bock Saga is obviously the Christians came along, and the centre of all life, all human life, all intelligence, all etc, etc, for millions of years was based around this place called Hell, and the Christians couldn't have that, so they became to bastardise Hell as a place, and they wrote it into their Bible, if you like, as the worst place, to bastardise it, to create a propaganda war against it. They give examples in the story of how there's, say, 60 words in the dictionary in English language that start with hell, and they're all positive, yet there's one that's perceived as negative. It doesn't fit if that's the beginning of all the other words, like hello and Helvelia, Helsinki, etc. They're all places, or and then it goes on to talk about these kind of in the Bock Saga. So the Bock Saga has the full history of humanity for millions of years. Crazy pagan kind of rituals, magic, different ideas about how life could have been. And there's a lot of, when you do the research online, there's a few guys recounting the story, and there's a lot of people basically just ripping it apart. But yet it has followers. And the thing that really interested me is, if you look at it with the same openness that you were to, say, read the Bible or the Quran or a Buddhist text or any other kind of religious kind of mythology, then it's just as valid, it's just as crazy. Like, literally, when you openly read the Bible and some of the things they're saying, you're like, holy fuck, that's some crazy shit. The angels just come down and chapped on his door. It's like that kind of level of crazy, and you read it and you watch it and you listen to it. But some of the things about, like, when they're 7 years old, they have to, like, swallow their own cum, and there's some really weird kind of things in it, and all the it kept me fascinated for hours and hours. And the Higher Side chat has a guy on talking about it for a couple of hours, but there's hours and hours of the Bock Saga online, and it's quite fascinating. They talk about the hollow earth and the fact that it's all about language. That's one of the keys to it. Like, he breaks down all the language and where language comes from. This is what he's saying, but like Ra and all these kind of, and where they went, and like, and all the ancient civilizations, a lot of them state that it was like a white character that brought them their knowledge. In South America, it was Viracocha, who was like a white person, and the pyramids in China are buried white Caucasians with red hair. In the highlands of Peru, they were said, again, it was white people, Caucasians, and these Finnish kind of story is saying that the Caucasian was the first for 1,000,000 years in hell. It totally goes against every genetic kind of thing, but it was interesting. And obviously, at the same time, Hitler, again, looking for the answers when he was kind of on his white crusade. He went to the north looking for this place, kind of Agatha, kind of a North Pole, where the kind of the hidden, if you like, hollow earth, Agatha, and the race of super Caucasians, if you like, and he went up towards hell, Helsinki. But again, I would suggest people give a listen to either the Higher Side or listen to the guy's stories raw on his page. I'll post them up and give it a listen. It's fucking some entertaining way to kill some time when you're cleaning the house, as I did.
I think we all think, I mean, what I got from some of the videos online and stuff like that, it is a folklorish telling of the creation story, the first part of it anyway, you know what I mean?
Oh, aye,
and all things have got that in them. Christianity, Buddhism, we've all got this story of how human beings came to be on the planet Earth. I know they spoke about this text, and it's so the text is all derived from the way they formed language, and it was an oral tradition, so it was just kind of, it was never written down. Is that right? I don't know if that's true. I don't know.
Yep, completely.
So it wasn't until like late last, that was a bit that kind of annoyed me.
It was in the 80s when the last,
like, you know what I mean,
the last of the Bock ever.
Aye. So at that point you can kind of go, oh, somebody in the 80s just making that shit up. You know what I mean? But as you say, you can maybe trace parts of other religions, take a wee bit, cause most religions have borrowed and stole from what's been around them at the time. And as you say, from that, the prevalent, they obviously became some sort of religion and some sort of worship form, and they did all these weird yoga type rituals and stuff like that. But I think what's interesting about it is, and I think this is what might interest our lovely podcast listeners, is it's no one that up until this week at least I'd heard about. You know what I mean? The majority of creation stories and big religions, you kind of, even the ones that have fell away, like, you know, Zeus and stuff like that, and how the Roman gods had created Earth. We know all these through the history books and how they are now seen as myth. But this one is kind of very much in the background and has only been, I think, starting to kind of gain a wee bit of acceptance as a text that can be studied. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I don't think people should be like studying it and going, oh, this is how the Earth was created. It was created and there's only one sun and there's only one planet, and the Earth is a reflection, and all the other suns and planets in the sky are reflections of our own and stuff like that. These are obviously very basic creation myths that are in their text.
No, for sure, and I think what's interesting about the Bock Saga is they play on, again, if it was just somebody's creation like Scientology, they play on a lot of things which, for instance, they describe using the language how hell was this kind of utopia on earth, and it was the holy city, if you like, and it was a hole at the top of the earth, and supposedly there's a big granite bit of rock with a hole in it.
Yeah.
And it's surrounded by 7 hills, and obviously the holy city of Jerusalem is surrounded by 7 hills as it describes in the Bible. So like they're saying, like when the Catholic Church bastardized hell and destroyed it, obviously again that's still there, the seven taps of the 7 hills. The fact that it was a holy city, like holy comes from the fact that again it was a hole in the granite, and he has an answer for all these kind of things, which makes it kind of compelling. You know, it's and it's all based in language. Again, he breaks down the root language, but some of the times when he breaks it down, when I'm listening, I'm like, he's just sort of like, that sounds something similar to that. So, and that's what and he says it with such confidence, and it's going that fast, there's that much information, you don't really take it in.
Yeah, because I take it, did they go into any of the kind of Norse mythology and stuff like that, the Norse gods? Like the guy with the big hammer and Odin and all that stuff.
Aye, so he talks about Thor.
Because you would think there'd obviously be some sort of crossover or cross-pollination about ideas and ceremonies in that part of the world back in the day, if you know what I mean.
It talks about like Thor's hammer, and he, again, it's a language-based explanation. It's not what we think it is, and that's why I sort of got engrossed in it, because everything that you think, they're basically saying no. For instance, the third eye, everybody would assume through meditation, all that sort of good stuff, Hinduism and Buddhism, there's this kind of third eye inside the middle of your brain, the pineal gland, which allows you, but he talked about, now the third eye is, only males have it, and it's at the end of your penis. It looks like an eye, it's called an eye, and it's the forehead of the eye. It's forehead as in it's in front of your other eyes, and it's the third eye. And the reason it's can see into the future is because it brings the future. It's where the seed, the sperma, as he calls it, the sperm gets pushed out and brings the future. So that's why it's like the third eye, the ability to see and it's why it's because it provides and things like that obviously goes into more detail, and it's like, well, that's a different way of looking at a kind of classical.
Yeah, and obviously a very sexy way of looking at it, which is good. See, when he's talking about the language translation, as I say, I only kind of read up a wee bit about it when you knew we were going to discuss about it. Is he translating into Finnish or Swedish, or is it going into English?
Well, he
because if he's going
sperma,
and if that's fucking, I don't know much Finnish, but in Finnish, sperma means toasted cheese or something like that, then you know what I mean. Is that the word in Finnish? Because I thought all these, if he's saying it's derived.
So he He says they created. So you've got to remember. Well, we've got to think about it like this. He's saying that this, if you like, creation story goes back 50 million years or something ridiculous like that. And in that time, there was multiple languages created, but there was 3 main languages. One of the languages which is now modern day Finnish, and another one which was now modern day English, but are essentially unchanged from that time. It says English is not a modern language; it's been with us. So.
Oh no, I'm calling bullshit in this guy now. Yes, you can clearly see over the last 1,000 years the evolution of Old English into how we speak today. So by him.
He uses the.
Sorry, Law, whatever your name is.
So he uses the language, and uses things like, just and that's another thing. He picks and chooses particular words.
But it would seem to be, aye.
Aye, that have key sounds or like ra, or yeah.
But as you said, she's now got this oral tradition that it's obviously written down or he's recorded so that other people can see it. And this has been the early 1980s. This idea that he's been told has came to him from his ancestor, like it's been passed down. He's like
so the guy on
like
the podcast
is an expert in this.
His teacher was Bock, who was the last ever Bock, who died in the 80s. So that was his teacher and friend. He is just a guy who searched the world and other different religions looking for the answers, but nobody gave him the answers. But when he heard the Bock Saga, he went, the answers, this has the answers.
No, I mean, I would encourage people to go out and kind of maybe, if they've never heard it, like I'd never heard it before, to kind of maybe go out and look into it. But I'm unsatisfied with the fact that he thinks modern day English is an ancient language that just happened to come back around. Maybe it did.
It never came back around. It's always been there, he says.
Well, then he's a fucking idiot.
So that's the Bock Saga.
That might bring us into, if you want to go into Scientology, then now, dude, if you...
Sounds good. Since
we're kind of on the kind of radar of bullshit fucking brainwashing. So, before the show, the lawyers for the podcast issued us with certain papers we had to sign. So we must make sure that these Scientologists' opinions of Greg's are purely Greg's and by no way condoned by everything's illusion.
I can knock the hat off.
I'm telling you.
A bowler hat off another man at 100 metres from my fucking powers of the mind.
He's been on the wee meters. So I had it on my planner thing, DVR box, Sky Plus, whatever you want to call it. The Going Clear, Scientology and the Prison of Belief. And I hadn't watched it. And I had put it off and just kind of sat there for ages. And last week the good lady wife was out having a coffee with friends and I had nothing to do. The young child was in her bed. I thought, I'll just give this a wee bash. And so first of all, I'd ask MD, if you like documentaries, if you like the interests of how religions work, Going Clear, Scientology and the Prison of Belief is a good one to go and watch. So I'd go and watch that. But, I mean, just for so I must say first off, that it is a very sided argument that showing through the history of Scientology and showing practices and interviews with ex-members of the church, it shows a certain point of view of the religion. If that's a kind of way of saying, if you were a Scientologist, you could come back and say, well, this documentary never interviewed anybody from the church, and everything you've said in the documentary we have written to you saying, no, these certain things didn't happen, or this person's lying, etc., etc. So if you can understand the kind of focus of the documentary, it could be seen as one-sided. Then again, in my opinion, it shows clear facts about how and I'm going to use the old finger quotes, which is great for a visual podcast, the religion of Scientology, it can be seen to be, I don't want to say bullshit, but I think it shows in modern day how many religions of the past and religions we still hold very dear to us at the moment can come about, and how even if you're 1, 2, maybe even 3 generations, less than 100 years from its inception of any religion, can go from being one thing that you can clearly see to something completely different, and something that's changed and been interpreted differently from how it was envisioned. And I think that same principle can be applied and looked at for Christianity, Islam, Buddhism.
But not just something as complex as religion or God, or even simple concepts of, I don't know, how to make bolognese, you know.
Well, it showed
2
you
generations and it disappears.
Yeah.
People bastardize
well, it's kind of, the interviews are with ex-members, some of them quite famous people. The director Paul Haggis, who did Crash, Oscar-winning film, terrible film, but he talked about how his life, he was like 18, 20 and lived in Canada and was kind of looking for some purpose in life and went to Scientology and had met a girl there or something, and they both went and they went through and he joined it, and he was in the religion for 30 years, and then he told you about all the different levels, and then he got to that one level where you get revealed a certain truth, and even at that point he called bullshit on the origin story of how the earth came to be and how we came to be on this earth. And if any members of the public out there have watched the South Park episode, you'll know all about that. But and then it also showed you the history of L. Ron Hubbard and how he clearly was a sign. It showed you how he progressed his idea from basically like a self-help book, and then he rewrote it, and then it became this other thing, and then he was using these other ideas that he cherry-picked from other places, and then how he had to leave the country to avoid tax, and then it shows you how the process that the Scientology went through to become a religion, and by religion I mean officially recognised by the state as a religion, therefore it was exempt from paying taxes, and how there was a possible conflict between them and the FBI. Really, really interesting. And the third thing I'd say, it showed you, it kind of focused on Tom Cruise, and it focused on him, how he had taken over from John Travolta as a kind of poster boy for science. And it showed you how, well, the interviewers who were very, very high, like it was the second in command of Scientology, and like these are top members, but they'd left the church, and they were telling interviews about how he was handled, and how if you are a member of Scientology and you were Tom Cruise, and then during the 80s you got a wee bit of work and you became quite a famous actor, how Scientology would give you preferential treatment, and like, you know, it make like Tom Cruise would be the centre of any party, and then but does Tom Cruise want? He wants this, oh, we'll give that to Tom. And you can see how somebody thinking about it, well, I'm being told all this stuff would happen if I did this. I've done this and all this stuff's happening. And then he goes in church and talks about Scientology, and they'd set up these camps where they took like So it started in the 50s and 60s. So Rob, just say you were in the 50s and you were one of L. Ron Hubbard's first, and you went and joined, and you met a woman there, and you had a baby, and then the baby was born as a Scientologist baby. So it went to Scientologist schools and churches. So in 2 or 3 generations, you have people whose only belief would be what they're being told. And it's very clear to me that that's very much how a lot of religions work. And it only takes 50 years to get to a point where you do believe that fucking aliens flew B-52 bombers, blew up nuclear weapons onto volcanoes where there was trapped prisoners, and these trapped prisoners died, but their souls inhabited the earth, and then they went into early man and they're still in you, and you have to get them out through auditing. And during that auditing, you tell a member of the church all your deepest, darkest thoughts, and they keep that in a file, and they use that against you if you want to leave. And then you give them all your money. And now they're an officially religious organisation by the state sanctioned, so they don't pay any tax, so they're absolute billions. Billions of pounds, dollars. But it was a great documentary, and it just kind of showed me how within 50 years you could end up with people unable to see the fact that the man who started the religion was a fucking failed sci-fi writer who wrote a self-help book.
On the other side of that, could it be that any form of interpreting reality is valid?
That's very true.
Like,
that goes back to the Bock Saga as well.
Well, that's
if you want to believe that, you can believe that.
How many different religions is there? How many different philosophies, political systems, just ways of interpreting reality? It's one of the things that humans do.
And I think,
and if you believe that we evolved, like there's always a hierarchy, and you see it in everyday life. Leaders, people saying shit, and people who don't agree with it just either can kowtow to it or just accepting it. And it only takes a wee bit more of that to then see them defend the same idea.
Yeah.
And before you know it, then they've invested so much and obviously adding emotion and manipulation and all that kind of things, and you've got a new group perspective of reality, which is a religion.
Yeah,
or a political system.
It was just really interesting to see that. What I mean, the same could be said for Joseph Smith and the Mormons. I'm listening to an interesting thing now about Charles Manson and his family. How they all believed he was Jesus, and he was getting personal secret signs through the Beatles albums, and how he was interpreting that and then giving it back to his family, his followers. I mean, it just shows you how kind of fragile and weird the mind is. You know what I mean?
I think there's a lot of...
There's people on this planet who think the world's a sphere, when we all know it's flat.
Well, that's it.
We've been justifying that in this podcast for months now.
But in that Bock Saga, they believe that there's a hollow, the Earth is hollow, and that the planet is the only planet in the vacuum of infinite space, and the sun is the only star in the vacuum of infinite space, and the sun is the only sun.
Yeah.
And all the lights in the sky are stars, and the star is just a mirror. It's just a reflection of our sun. So there's one sun that lights up the rest, and there's only one planet, which to them, like, as we would call it a planet, like just say Mars, to them Mars is just a star, because a planet has to have human life, and there only is one, and we're it.
Human, as the Ferengis would say. But no, I just thought it was an interesting documentary.
I think I'll have to watch it. It sounds,
it's good.
Sounds pretty good. I do like watching Scientology documentaries.
But if you just the way most people mock Scientology and just you think about it, you go, fucking L. Ron Hubbard and fucking sci-fi writing and
I don't mock
Phaetons and fucking B-52 bombers and blowing up volcanoes and like you watch that South Park video and it's as great as it is and hilarious as it you kind of think, or you can mock that dead easily, but when you watch that documentary you can see how somebody could come
how powerful the ideas are within a few generations and how it can totally solidify any kind of idea can be solidified about what is right and what is wrong, and it just shows you how easily manipulated the uneducated. But that's one of the whole things about
some of these people are really, really educated and they're not stupid people.
Well, there's a difference between educating and being curious and being able to that's one of the main things about science is the ability to take information and compare it against other information to come to a conclusion, to think through problems, to ask the relevant questions and reject the stuff that doesn't hit the scratch. And there's been many philosophical systems designed to challenge the way that you think, the way that you perceive, the way that you can. Many a person has woken up to the fact that everything that they have ever experienced is an illusion, in the simple sense of that's just their tiny window of how they see the world. Now, if you read any history, straight away, if you put yourself in the life of a fucking Syrian for 5,000 years ago, who was fucking impaling people and fighting in huge land kind of battles. The way that they looked at life,
how Syria has changed.
About how they looked at life, their religion, their philosophy, etc. be so alien to someone from today's world in any religion, in any culture. And that's only going back a few thousand years, like that. It just shows you the infinite possibility that the human mind can be fashioned into.
Well, when I start my religion, I hope people jump on board.
I'm sold, but I'd get an instant high priest.
Well, I don't just hand him out to him, you know what I mean?
Well,
you need to work for it, pal. You can't just be a high priest in the Church of Greg. You know what I mean?
So we'll go from the Scientology, so the Bock Saga, crazy mythology, going clear Scientology, straight into Tony Robbins, which is essentially the same thing. Tony Robbins, who's obviously the motivational kind of speaker, he's just released a new documentary called I Am Not Your Guru. And Tony Robbins essentially charges people like $5,000 or so for like a 5-day, 12-hour-a-day, transform your life kind of mega seminar, where people who have been everything from rape victims to people that are just down in their luck to entrepreneurs that want to transform their life, all different walks of life. And they go to these events with this big imposing, because he's a big guy, he's like 6'5" or something. This big solid imposing guy comes out and basically tells them how it is and gets in front of people and dominates people mentally and physically, and makes people have these amazing life transformations that obviously spread like wildfire, word of mouth, and the next thing you know, he's multi-millionaire. like crazy cash. The boy has crazy cash.
Yeah.
And when you watch the documentary, it's basically an advert for his product and services, but it's what I seen a lot of was what you get at the church and what you get at. It's you've got one sort of big guru-like figure who has created such an environment where he tells people, you know, you know me, I will tell you the fucking truth. You know me, trust me.
Yeah.
And when the person releases all their stuff about they want to commit suicide or something like this, and it's like, I'm not going to fucking lie to you, you don't lie to me, are you going to take control of your life, and all this kind of stuff. And then obviously the crowd start cheering and stuff. So it's like instant gratification.
Yeah.
Like social gratification. It's like this person went from feeling down to like there's 5,000 people in a room all getting behind them. But how are they going to feel in 10 days when that fucking buzz has disappeared? It's like, you can take on the world, you're amazing. And then 5 days later they're like...
And five grand fucking out of pocket.
Aye, well, I watched it with a good lady, and she was just like, this is just about his bank account.
Yeah.
But like Tony Robbins is a modern day, if you like, self-help motivational guru, and I know a few people that go to these kind of events and they swear by him, and they talk about him in such a way that you could paraphrase or substitute Tony Robbins with anybody from L. Ron Hubbard to Jesus to whoever. Now they really do look at him as this kind beyond a guru kind of figure, like really, and I think that's one of the you're talking about within 50 years you can see Scientology has how they can mould a way of thinking. Tony Robbins is doing that in his lifetime.
Yeah.
Not even his lifetime, I'm talking about 20 years. He has literally created a system where, you know, it's like a multi-layered sales program.
Yeah.
Where it starts off with like books, moves into like fully fledged DVD series, online this, online that, and it ends up with 5-day mega seminars where you transform your life, sort of stuff. And it's one guy that just has balls to the wall confidence. It's like the biggest snake oil guy ever. But at the same time, it's that thing we were talking about a minute ago. You know, if somebody's going there and they're genuinely getting benefit at that time, I'm not talking about like maybe for the next 10 months, but in that moment they're getting benefit, then that's their choice and they seem to be getting something from it. Whereas I'd be sitting there going, I'm getting huckled.
Yeah. I think as the years go by and the older and the wiser I get, I'm coming round more to fucking Tyler Durden's way of thinking. You are not special. You are not beautiful or a unique snowflake. You are the same. You know what I mean? I'm becoming very, very fucking disillusioned in my whole life. You know, advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need.
Very true.
Very true, Tyler. See it. So we can start fight clubs and then fucking blow up fucking credit card buildings.
Well, that's the... Again, it'd be... Again, obviously, Tony Robbins, he is essentially selling a consumer a product to stop or to reduce the depression that they get because they consume too much.
Yeah.
Because they're that hungry for success that they require to consume more. So he sells them another high-level bespoke product that they need as a consumer to make them feel good about their drive and their thrive for continuously consuming.
So he's like a symptom of the fucking thing that I feel is the detriment of society. This fucking overconsumption of pish.
Aye, because that's what it is. It's pish.
Celebrity. It is fucking. How good was Fight Club? Self-improvement is masturbation, as Tyler would say.
Just be Taoism. You know what I mean? Just do your thing. You're going to die anyway.
Yep. I think that's how we'll start looking at stuff. But yeah, I'll definitely. I do have the old Netflix on the.
I thought it was a good documentary. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The guy, he comes with some interesting things. He's got a lot of energy. It's one of these guys that does like fucking 16-hour days. Do
you get the impression that the guy? This is just me kind of asking you about the actual documentary. There's a guy who's making the documentary. Do you think he came in thinking, I'll fucking show this guy. I'm going to show this guy up.
No, he was a friend. That's what.
Or did he come in and he was like, oh, well.
No, it's a sales video.
Is it?
The whole thing is a sales video. Like Tony's very clever as a marketing expert. It's a sales video to get people to buy his products, and that's what I'm saying about, like, it starts with a book and then it's like a DVD series and it finishes with a live. And this documentary is just another way of him getting his product and services out to the masses. There'll be a lot of people that watch it and go, holy fuck, I need to get his book.
Aye.
He's transforming lives. My life needs to be transformed. I need some of that magic in my life.
I need to awake that giant within.
Yes. So I think there's definitely... you know, he's one of these guys who claims to have the answer and he's selling it.
Yeah.
But the thing about, like, him, when asked, it's about the only kind of truth, if you like, in the documentaries, when he is asked, you know, what makes you do this? What is your drive? And his drive is to see other people be happy.
Fucking lying bastard. Bullshit.
No, but I don't think it is bullshit. I think it's a case of that's how he makes himself feel of worth. I think there's no worth. Again, in his life, the only way he can feel worth of himself is to make other people feel good. Kind of classic kind of joker or clown kind of.
I think the kind of snake oil salesman drinks his own snake oil, is that kind of?
Aye, he's kind of. He needs it as much as they need it.
Aye.
Like if he never had that audience, he'd be a fat slob sitting on a couch, getting no content with anything. This gives him some contentment. He does it for himself. He's not doing it for them, but he needs to do it for them. Because if he didn't, he'd just be like, it's like a
Catch-22. The snake eating itself kind of vibe.
Aye.
Sounds cool, man. We're getting the fucking folk out there some good documentaries to go and watch. You know, it's not just all about fucking Batman versus fucking Captain America's in the cinemas, folks. This is where you get your fucking awakening shit. Here. On the fucking podcast land. Well, as you're talking about Tony Robbins, a man who wrote books and probably went through self-publishing his fucking books. This leads me on to segue, man, to if you want to talk about self-publishing and maybe a wee Kickstarter campaign starting up soon.
I like that. So I've just finished my second book called Smartphone Media Production, and I've called it Smartphone Media Production, a Revolution for Everyone. It's a whole idea of you can basically create all forms of media using your phone, and the technology is now available for us to capture it, edit it and distribute it all from a mobile telephone. And obviously 10 years of media production and all that kind of good stuff that I have on my hat and a lot of that time I've shared with yourself, condensed that into a good quality book. But so that's me. I'm at the stage now where I'm thinking about the publication. So obviously a good way to do that nowadays is Kickstarter or Indiegogo is creating almost like a pre-sales. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yep.
Sort of pre-sales. Create a campaign, put that up, and then say to people, right, the book's going to be a tenner when it comes out. You'll get the book before everybody else. You'll get it signed. It'll only cost you £8. And see how many people, if there's enough people to purchase it en masse, so that I can then go to the printers and get it printed. The way print demand works is the more you can buy in bulk, the cheaper you can get it.
Yeah.
But also to cover things like the graphic design, an ISBN, buying the barcode, getting the ISBN printed into a barcode like that itself's £250. The ISBN, the barcode, and all the kind of things like a typesetting software like InDesign. So taking your book that you've written in Scrivener or Word, and then putting it into a typesetting tool and getting somebody to can make it look like a book layout. To creating a website and distribution and all these kind of things. So in the next kind of week or so, I'll be creating a video. I've got the script written, the script for the Kickstarter page, and I'll be putting up a link for my book to see if I can get it funded. And so there we go. But it's quite interesting how all the different parts, it's like everything you think, I'll just take a book and I'll publish it. Like the first time I just went through Amazon have a system where they have all these tools, but the thing with the Amazon system is they are the publisher, so you essentially give your rights away to them to have that access to their distribution network, etc. This time I'm planning to publish it myself, so I'm buying the ISBN. So it's my identity for the book. It's I have the publishing right, and then I'll get it distributed through Amazon and various other places. But it's a huge world, and every single part of the process has a specialism. And it seems to be that there's a lot of books. The more I've looked into this, like my first book, like I never done any typesetting at all. I never even knew there was such a thing. I just wrote it in WordPress, Word, and
copied it across.
I shoved it into the folder thing that Amazon required, and boom. This time I'm trying to make, because I think the content's pretty damn fucking awesome. I'm going to I want to make it really good, like a proper book, because I think at the end of the day, be it a political revolution or be it an entrepreneur looking to get ahead, people have the skills to live broadcast, they have the equipment to live broadcast, the equipment to record video, audio, to do loads and loads of different things with their phone, edit it right there and distribute it. And it's like having a £5 million BBC studio from 10 years ago. Everybody carries it in their pocket and nobody's using it. I mean, if the revolution is going to happen, it's going to happen through people understanding how to use their phone. Because at the minute, everybody has the technology and very few people have the knowledge of how to use it. So that's the name of the game. Entrepreneurs and activists.
Keep your eyes peeled, folks, for that coming soon.
And I'll put a link up on the page when it's...
I think that brings us nicely into another topic. we had a wee kind of talking about being creative and creating content and the kind of blankets term creating art. We had an interesting situation happen on the page this week, did we not?
Yeah, it was. I was scrolling through a group, a Facebook group, and the group's set up for students of the University of the West of Scotland, and it's basically a group designed for. I'm a film student looking for some music, so I hook up with a music student and vice versa, and so they can work on their projects, etc., and get other people at the university with relevant skills to get experience on there and helping towards their degree.
Yeah.
But like most things in life, big companies use these kind of groups to try and get some free shit, and you've seen it 100 times, and I'm guessing most people listening will have seen it 100 times. People asking for a band, asking for free music, looking for a free photographer, looking for a free video, looking for a Photoshop touch-up, or looking to get their book layout typeset done for free. And they're always tend to promise exposure. If you do this for us, unfortunately we can't pay you, but we're a fucking fantastically huge organisation and we'll give you exposure, and it's fantastic for your CV, etc. So on this page there was an airport, the Prestwick Airport, that's one of their creative marketing people was looking for Scottish themed music, but unfortunately they had no money in the marketing budget to pay for the music, because the marketing budget was for marketing. So they were looking for a freebie, and their friend Chris, he wrote a good reply which basically said this is a problem with the industry. It forces people to work for free, and we need to get over this, essentially. So I screen grabbed the thing and then the reply and pushed it up on Everything's an Illusion, and it went viral for Everything is Illusion is a fairly small Facebook page, but we've got 220 people likes on our Facebook page. The thing was shared 300 times, or it was shared 200 times and liked 300 times. There was more people than the page even has liked it, and there was loads of good comments and loads of discussion about the whole idea of a creative industry eating itself from the inside, because a lot of people, think it's acceptable to but I had to work for free to get my experience. It's like, well, when you're a doorman or a nurse or a chef, a binman.
I think the thing that friend of the show, Big Chris Bannerman, nailed right in the head was this was a international multi-million pound company who are trying to cut corners, who have gave a marketing budget that has went obviously over budget, and now they're just asking students if they know any musicians that can come and give their music for free to this ad campaign. We can't pay you, but you will get exposure, which if it's an advert, I don't know how you can get exposure, because then you have to kind of go, oh, who's the fuck? It doesn't say, there's no credits in adverts. You would have to go and investigate it. Who made that song? In the creative industries, one of the great things about the creative industry and creative people is there can be a very fluid and very kind of passionate way of working. So you could, so maybe an example from the stuff that we've been involved in, making a video. You can, like, 2 or 3 friends can have a great idea, and because you're all in the creative industries, you may have access to cameras at a weekend that are free, and you've got a couple of actor friends who you know, so they're willing to come on board and help out and do a couple of days on set, and you know a man who's in it, and it, like a passion project can come up. And these things are great, and they can sometimes go into do great things, and majority of the time they just do none, apart from scratch an itch for everybody that's involved. But when you are a major company, or you are the BBC, and you're asking for people to come and work for free, even though you have a budget and you have money to pay people, that's where the creative industries, that's where I think the creative industries suffers so much. Because people at these levels where they're trying to make stuff and they've got budgets for stuff think, oh, people just work for free because they like working for free. People don't like working for free, but people in the creative people can get very passionate about things that can be done. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean. I can. Like,
so I think that's what the problem. That was the problem I had with the post. See, this had nothing to do with the poster, because the way I read through the post, and then there was a couple of back and throw with the person who posted it on the original page. He's an intern. And he's been given the job of, we've run out of money, you fucking go and get this sorted. And him being an intern, you would assume he's getting paid either very fucking little or nothing at all.
Like $8,000 or something. I said to him in the replies that I made, you know, it's not about you. The reason I posted it up is to challenge the idea about the industry, and that's what Chris brought up, you know.
Yeah.
One of the things that in the post that says, at this stage the work is unpaid as the marketing team is on a strict budget used for promotional purposes. But what he's asking for is for promotional purposes. So he's basically saying they've got a budget for promotional stuff, but for some reason this music, we're not going to include it as promotional stuff, when in fact it's for promotional video. It doesn't make sense.
And again, this is symptomatic of other companies as well. You do see it a lot. It goes down this tree of money, trickles down, and money's spent on different things, and it gets to a certain level where you end up saying to a fucking intern, go and sort some music out for this, because we've no money left anymore, you need to go and get a solution. And the lowest rung of the ladder ends up getting shat on the most.
And I can see the boy's point. He clearly stated in one of his replies, I would rather get some sort of up and coming musician and use their music and get them exposure than just using generic music that I got for YouTube or some other kind of Creative Commons generic.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like me, like you, we've done it many times in short films and documentaries that we've made, but they weren't there for a big international airport to advertise their products and services. They were for passion projects, working with other creative, and as kind of saying, we're making a short film about this and that, your music would be fantastic. It's a no budget film, we're just making it for the shits and giggles, try and get it in some film festivals. Would you be keen on getting us your music? We'll give you full credits at the beginning, the back, we'll invite you to any times we're playing it, push you out on social media, all that kind of good stuff. And generally people are pretty cool because they're in the same boat. They're a kind of up-and-coming musician working with an up-and-coming filmmaker. But that, in that case, is completely different.
Yeah.
There was I gave some few examples of experiences I've had where folk want you to do stuff and they're willing to pay everybody but the creative people.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's like you've rented a hall, you're paying for bar staff, you're paying for a medic, you're paying for the lighting guy, but for some reason you don't want to pay for the photographer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have that in my budget. It's like,
yeah, you don't have a photographer.
Well, that was when I bid in for one, and I reckoned it'd be about 6 hours, and I just put it at £7 an hour.
Yeah.
I said about 40 quid, and I don't have that in my budget. It's like,
Yeah.
so the one of the main marketing things you're going to use for your next event moving forward, you don't want to pay the minimum wage for it. It's like, okay, there's no hope for your business going forward.
There's also this thing I've noticed, this use of interns.
Oh, it's on the rise.
This seems to, I don't know, this seems to be, I've always seen this as a kind of, like we would see it in American sitcoms or American drama, the interns here, or, and this basically just seems to be young people, graduates working for free. That seems to be.
And the funny thing about interns, I have seen adverts for interns that is me as about 10 years I've been making videos and all the rest of it. And with 10 years of skills and experience, I could not apply for some of these interns. They want, somebody who can make video, and somebody who can do their website, and somebody who's a social media expert, and somebody who can do this and do that. And you read through the list and you're thinking, they want an entire department of skill. And they're not, like, where does the intern, who's training you? What are you going to learn if you want all this? Like, each of the things they wanted is like a standalone profession. Somebody who can take photographs, somebody who can edit the photographs, put them onto, can do the same with video, update their website, must know CSS, and can SEO, and
then the thing with that is, well, no, maybe going about this too much, but then the question is, who can afford to be an intern at the big fancy film studio? Well, people who can afford not to get paid to work, i.e. children of rich people.
And that's the industry
as and it is just now. Always been the industry so far, that you to get your foot in the door. I mean, there is a lot of diversity stuff goes on. Because we live in this country, there is a kind of agenda that people like places like Channel 4 and the BFI will run diversity programs, which is great. But as you say, the majority could well be seen as middle class, upper class people. We've spoken about this before on the podcast, who get these creative jobs because they can afford to intern and not get paid to do stuff.
And that's one of the big things about writing smartphone media production, a revolution for everyone, is, this is not an exclusive club.
Yeah.
For many, many years it was an exclusive club. To be a cameraman, to can use a video, to be a video editor, to get in a studio, to have the distribution networks to then can push your stuff out. It was very exclusive, and it was that kind of mentality of, it was only the upper classes and middle upper classes, and everybody sounded as if they were on BBC Radio 4. Nowadays, me and you are broadcasting on the airwaves. We have our own personal radio which broadcasts to the world. Now, at the minute, that's still using high-end technology. We've got a fancy computer, microphones, mixers, fancy software. But the reality is you can do almost all of that on your phone.
Yeah.
And the more folk learn about this and use the technology in their phone, the more people will become producers of creative content, and the consumption of creative content is moving away from the devices like the TVs, these kind of single unit sort of things, to mobile. So that's one of my drives behind kind of writing the book, is the media industry has always been about, can you can do a month. Like I applied when I left uni, I wrote off to kind of just googled media companies Glasgow, and I wrote off a generic email to them all, tailored it specifically for each of them, kind of a wee bit at the beginning. And I get a few offers to come in for a month. Like, no an offer of a job, but like a trial for a month. Like, come in, work for a month. That's like, I can't do that.
Right to eat.
But that's the thing, some folk can, and you know, the first job I got offered was for a camera company, and I knocked it back because it was at £11,000.
Yeah.
So travelling from Prestwick to Glasgow, paying your mortgage or your rent at that time, your food or the rest of it, your travel on 11 grand. I worked out at about literally about 10 quid in my pocket at the end of every week. And it's like, I've just got myself into 30 grand's worth of debt to get a job that pays less than the job I had when I was at uni working in the fucking phone shop, selling mobile telephones. I was earning more money. It was like, so if you're in the creative industries, you're getting shat on, and if I'm selling phones, I'm making more money. Now I've got a degree, I'm getting offered a job with less cash. I was like, this doesn't fucking make sense.
Yeah. Oh, crowded.
Aye. Rant. Right. Fuck that shit. Last but not least.
Last but not least.
Trump versus Clinton. I think both are confirmed to be the delegate candidates for Republicans and the Democrats. One is ultra dangerous, the other is uber dangerous. What is America going to do? Tune in next week.
If we're still here.
It's fucking crazy, man. You've got Trump talking about Russian hackers, and you've got Clinton, who is just, I don't know, she just seems to be the person who does not tell the truth in any way, shape or form. She is so in the pockets of the corporate world that
as I watch it more and more and go online, it's like Donald Trump as a figure, as a person. I mean, I think Bernie Sanders tweeted this week, he's like the worst Republican candidate for 100 years or something like that. But does Trump represent all the things we sometimes chat about in this podcast, you know? Anti-establishment, you know, a kind of attack against how modern politics is run, and then you look at him for a wee while and you go, no, I think he's anti-establishment on the sense that the fucking mega rich, you know what I mean, as rich as fucking Donald Trump is, there are people above him that are fucking mega rich who like to stay in the shadows, who don't like to come out into the limelight of the political arena, who are the puppet masters as far as I'm concerned. You know, the people that can give somebody like Hillary Clinton $3 million.
Well, that's the thing, Ken. Donald Trump is by far more wealthy as an individual than the Clinton family. He's worth billions. They're worth millions.
I think her campaigns...
I bet that's the thing I was about to say. Like, as individuals, he dwarfs her.
Yeah.
In terms of personal finance, but in terms of political campaign, she is backed by every other big motherfucker, whereas he isn't.
Aye.
A lot of the big corporate, because like he's talked about it in the past, you know, like I've paid Hillary Clinton to come to a dinner and endorse stuff for me. He's talked about that. He knows as being a billionaire, how that world works. Politicians and senators, I just pay them, and he said that a number of times. I just pay them to do my bidding. I know how it works. And I think that's the kind of scary part of how they don't want him in. Obviously, there's the part that he's kind of racist, crazy guy that has no attention span.
The thing is, I watch videos like from Trump, like right-wing conservative, like no. See, there's a kind of very weird shift in the way politics is brought to us, like through YouTube and stuff like that. But like you get these kind of Trump supporters. Sometimes on the Trump supporters, but just are anti-Hillary. Do you know what I mean? And they're kind of saying, asking questions to people like, "What did Donald Trump say that was racist?" And people are now like, "Well, he said I'm going to build a wall between us." Well, technically, building a wall to keep what would be some sort of immigration policy to stop quote-unquote illegal immigrants coming in, isn't it racist?
He
Do you know what I mean?
associated all Mexicans as thieves, as rapists.
But I watched a video where somebody says that's not true. What he said illegal. So he's not saying if you come here on a work visa, I'm not calling you right. But I'm not fucking sticking up for the man. But I'm just saying the way
that's what we're doing this program. I like it.
I'm not, you know. But whereas with Hillary, a great majority of her, because the only way the society we live in, the only way we can get stuff through the news is if fucking it's the old term, if it bleeds, it leads. So that it needs to have a hook, it needs to have something in it. So when you see Hillary Clinton, there'll be a bit about her, and there'll always be like that celebrity cachet. Who's Hillary's supporter? Or what did this celebrity say about it? You know what I mean? There's always that hook these days, because otherwise it's just a white woman talking about fucking taxis. Nobody gives a fuck about that. So you end up with these fucking feminist celebrities coming out saying, "Oh, vote for Hillary." But if it wasn't Hillary Clinton, who seems to have this idea that because her husband cheated on her, she gets to be president of the United States. If she wasn't a woman and she had all the same track record, would you be voting for her? I don't think they would. It's not that America isn't ready for some sort of female president. I mean, we've now got our second female prime minister. I think any country in the world, maybe not Saudi Arabia, but you would think America's ready for a female president. That's not a big thing. For the black president, why not a female? I just don't think she's the right female to do the job. And the other side, I don't think fucking Sarah Palin's up to the job either. The big fucking Republican. It's just, as you said at the beginning of the piece here, it's fucking Uber versus Ultra fucking. It's just, I don't think the kind of hope campaign that went with a kind of left feeling Bernie Sanders is all. They don't want Trump. It's like, but that comes back to the two-party system. It's like fucking. You choose one or the other, or nothing.
There's
well, even that's not an option. Nothing's not an option.
There's a video I posted up on the Facebook page by a guy called John Pillinger, who's an Australian journalist, a multi-awards winning journalist. And Pillinger, he talks about Bernie Sanders, like Bernie Sanders voted for war, Bernie Sanders, and he goes through other things. It's like the media, just like the media, like Trump is, for a lot of the media, they're against Trump.
Yeah.
You know, and to be fair, I've been kind of bought into the media bites that get edited down. A few things Pillinger is basically saying, like the media has an agenda, obviously, and they're, depending on who you're watching, they're selling you their agenda, and particular, obviously they spin it. Both of them are like, well, Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, both of them are both fucking horrendous, and Trump is horrendous as well. And he breaks down it all from the information that's available.
Yeah.
But Trump, there was the guy who wrote his book, The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
He's come out and said his attention span was something like fucking 10 minutes maximum. He could not hold a good conversation, and it came down to it. He got the writer to be in, the ghostwriter, to be in the room next to him and listening to his phone calls, because they couldn't phone the guy.
Yeah.
His concentration was so bad. And he says, if I knew I was going to run for presidency, I would never have wrote the book, because it's obviously helped him validate who he is and stuff, when he's an imbecile.
Yeah.
And then there's a thing in Reddit, the Reddit forums, where it's Ask Me Anything, AMA, and generally when people do the Ask Me Anything, it's pretty brutal, because people ask them fucking anything, and it goes but the AMA for the subreddit forum for Donald Trump was heavily monitored by Trump's people, and Trump wrote 640 words in reply to the various questions that was asked. And there were loads of people just he was asked multiple questions, he answered multiple questions, and in total he wrote 640 words. This guy is, because obviously the more you write, the more intelligent you are. It's a fact. It's just the way it is. And he's got no answers. No detailed answers about any of his policies.
Yeah, well, I heard something the deal with the vice president guy is the vice president's going to do everything, and Donald Trump's just going to be like this figurehead. But again, that comes from the media. You never know what to believe. I mean, there's also a kind of shift in how the left and the right, especially in America, seems to me being portrayed here. I see, the left here seems to be we seem to be going back to kind of grassroots socialist, the kind of Jeremy Corbyn Labour movement seems to be growing a wee bit here.
Well, that the press would tell you that.
Well, that's their agenda, but the left in America seem to be a bunch of fucking whiny bitch millennials who fucking want safe spaces in universities and fucking can't accept stats that don't back up their fucking agendas of fucking some weird, not even utopian fucking place they want to live in. And the right, there's a centre right that can easily deflect this and say how this stupid left point of view that, says they're ultra feminist but refuse to criticise Islamic points of view and feminism and females, or the LGBT community, or fucking taxis and all that stuff. But they're very much saying it's their fault. Fucking, there's a globalisation and corporate greed is the left's, they're blaming the left for this. And it's mind-boggling to me. I don't.
It's I think at the end of the day, is
there another level? Is there an Illuminati that just fucking is above left and right politics?
But it's definitely crazy mind vampires. We know that.
Oh, we know that. That's a given. That is a given.
And the earth is flat, and we live in a mind prison. But apart from that good stuff, I think, obviously, as we've discussed, reality can be programmed over a few generations to emulate anything that you can desire. I think if you look at some pretty cool philosophers, etc., the whole idea of a kind of, not quite a utopia, but folk going out and doing their jobs, enjoying working away, being creative, having a free health service, the ability to have a job, the jobs are available, have a free health service so when shit goes wrong, they can get hungry, having good public transport that they get from A to B, having some sort of security in their old age through a pension and health service, having a knowledge that their kids can get an education and go on and can do these sort of things. The ability to purchase food and good quality food, and again to have a chance in the vote and how your country's ran, just the kind of basic thing. There's probably some more, but I think they're the kind of cornerstone, having a police force and a fire service and an ambulance service, and I don't like, in a Western world we've got the money to have a kind of society where that is, you know what I mean? We'd be producing engineers and inventors left, right and centre, but for some reason, like obviously America, one of the major countries in the world, has areas that bigger than the UK population wise and land wise that are fucking labelled third world countries, and instead of fixing that shit, they are off fighting people in Iraq and trying to create wars in Russia and Iran and North Korea and all these kind of places, and they don't have free health service. They have some sort of crazy insurance system that leaves loads of people out and forces them to pay 3-4 times the odds for their health service compared to countries like ourselves or France. And I just don't understand that kind of mentality, you know what I mean, obviously. But again, as you said with Scientology, if you come from a family of folk who make 200,000 selling hedge funds, that's your expectation. And you look at people who were brought up in a ghetto on the other side of the city as being useless, lazy fucking bastards that just sponge off society, then you'll perpetuate the same myth that you're entitled to this and fuck them, and they're just, or they don't deserve it because they can.
It's just to see videos.
It's just a bit of software that they're you just,
I see videos online.
Under the sun, and that's it. There's no difference between you and them. Just running different software.
I don't know if it's just the videos I'm watching. I maybe need to fucking broaden my horizons of shit I watch on the fucking internet. But you know, I just see fucking these Americans complaining about fucking white privilege and white male privilege and a bunch of fucking whiny bitch millennials, and whereas.
Well, there is a lot of white privilege, don't get me wrong.
But once again, the way they fucking
Caucasians run the whole world. It's a fact.
I don't see much white privilege at the food banks in Clydebank. You know what I mean? I'm a white male. I'm fucking.
It's a different country.
That's what I'm saying.
It's no, again, if you're talking about geographically, you're talking about the United States of America.
What I see online is I just see like any man who's born white automatically goes into this category of white male privilege.
No, definitely.
That seems to be the case in the States.
But in the States, not in the UK.
Which can't be fucking true. We know there's fucking trailer parks full of fucking quote unquote white trash. But that man's not fucking privileged.
Is Hingway, but you have to take it in a geographical context. That it's Hingway. If we were just discussing America, let's just discuss America. As soon as you cross the border into, say, the UK, then it's a totally different. Obviously, in America, the major there was one of the things I read that it should be Black Lives Matter as well. Stating that everybody's of value, but we matter as well. Because there is a system through again culture that came from slavery and ownership, and there's still a underlying perception or underlying theme or feel in society that Caucasian lives are worth more or are of more value, and the Black Lives Matter movement is about saying, no, we matter as well, we are just as valid, we're all equals under the sun. Which I understand.
I just think there's probably some housing scheme in fucking Boston whose ancestors came from fucking Ireland during the famine, who their white ass fucking great grandfather didn't own any fucking slaves. He came in a fucking boat, unable to fucking eat potatoes, whereas at the exact same time in Ireland, the fucking British establishment, royalty and the fucking High Guard, they were eating, there was still plenty of beef and lamb being farmed in Ireland. They just weren't getting it to the fucking poor folks, so they fucked off to America to fucking star in gangs in New York. You know what I mean? There's no white privilege there as far as I'm concerned. There's a fucking... But then again, I'm a complete ocean away from it. And I will say right now, I don't know all the ins and outs.
What you're describing there, I think, is two different things. Obviously, there is...
But the videos I'm watching online are middle-class people shouting about white male privilege at people who's fucking... who've never known privilege in their life.
Aye,
the amount of people the founding fathers and all that stuff, there must be a very small percentage of those people. But they run the fucking country, don't get me wrong, they still run the country, but there seems to be a whole, and this is maybe just what the media is portraying to me as someone across yours, that that any person who's white and a man in America has this automatic privilege, which cannot be the case, because there must be fucking poor white people who go to food banks or are on fucking government handouts.
Nothing is a general statement.
But I think that's how it's being portrayed over here.
Of course it's been.
I just wonder if that's how it's being portrayed over there.
Aye, of course it is, aye, because it's a media agenda. You know.
When you look at the stats...
There's a good example of a guy called Jose. He's a Spanish graphic designer. He applies for 200 jobs. Like, true story. Doesn't get any. Takes the S out his name, turns it to Joe. Applies to the same jobs. Starts to get fucking applications through the interview. There was a Scottish rap band for Aberdeen. Sent their cassettes to everybody, and everybody rejected them. So for a laugh, they thought, fuck it, let's just put an American accent on, do a rap, and send it to the companies. And then if everybody wanted them. You know what I mean? Because rap is associated with an American accent. It wasn't associated with... There's a lot of association with again, Caucasian, I don't know, underlying power, heritage, etc., that a lot of people buy into. Yep. In America. And obviously, as you say, there's loads of people that come from fucking, like the Scots or the Irish, who were cannon fodder for the fucking English and the Imperial, and they've never known any kind of privilege. Mm. They fucking went there and they created the West by killing the fucking Indians.
The gangs in New York. Yeah, it seems to be a kind of weird... The left don't seem to be... They seem to be more concerned about fucking... I don't know. I think it's a very interesting situation. How the left and right are kind of perceived over here, I think.
And also as well, I think when people are talking about race, and obviously, again, there's loads of things about... there's a lot of folk going, but black communities, black fathers need to take after their sons, look after their sons, and all this kind of good stuff. Black imprisonment in the United States, etc. But one of the things that the race kind of discussion diverts people from is the class discussion, or the fact that it doesn't matter if you're fucking yellow, brown, white, fucking blue, if you're skint as fuck, living in a ghetto, a third world country inside a first world nation, and no healthcare, no education, on food stamps, life is going to be pretty fucking shit, and your ability to read and to see an alternative and dig yourself at the hole isn't ever going to happen. And it's about putting the kind of working class and the middle class against each other, and putting race and ethnicity and religion against each other. I mean, one of the key phrases of some of the secret societies is order out of chaos. At the minute, we've got religions fighting religions, we've got races fighting races, we've got class fighting class. You know, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Loads of chaos, loads of solutions to be sold, loads of people being occupied by things that shouldn't be occupying them, and we'll never get to utopia because we're too busy fucking being led up the garden path in the chaos.
Sucks.
Big balls.
I don't think we went into too much about Trump and Hillary. I think we kind of tangent.
I think they're both shite.
Fucking we're all fucked.
At the end of the day, World War III has already began.
So the Pope was saying, was it the Pope or somebody else? Or?
But if you think about like a war, like if you looking at history, you know, warfare continuously changed because the culture that bred the people would have a big influence on how they fought. So like the Japanese discipline and Highway for Perfection created the samurai. Now they're fighting the Chinese. The Chinese can't just go and train some motherfuckers and have some samurai. It's a cultural thing. You need to adapt that whole. So the Chinese have got the kung fu kind of warriors, and when the Persians go up against the Athenians, the Persians have the phalanx, kind of their big shields and their spears, and the Persians have their archers. It's a totally different system, but nowadays war is standardised. War is kind of tanks and communication and planes and standing armies, special forces, etc., etc. But I think we're moving into an era, for the first time in a long time, where there's new strategies, there's new ways of playing the game of war for the first time in a long time. And I think it's ought to do with psychological propaganda being a big huge part of it. Corporate espionage and cyber warfare, communications warfare. Like the key part of any war is the ability to keep your communications open while strangling your opponent's communication abilities. And that's happening just now. Again, that was tested on the in Syria, the West versus Russia. It was tested, and now the West is, if you like, circumnavigating, creating a net around Russia and China, and there's a propaganda war using even things like the games, the Olympic Games against Russia. A huge big propaganda war is happening, a psychological war. And again, just as you were saying about the fucking Scientology, one generation and like Americans believe that they won the Second World War. Americans believe that they were fighting the fucking Germans and the Russians.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
I don't think all Americans think that.
Oh, obviously. Just like not all Americans, kind of as you were saying a minute ago about the... Yeah.
I'm sure the smart American listeners to this podcast know that how the World War II finally ended. Well, dude.
Okay. So,
yes,
ladies and gentlemen,
fucking boys and girls.
That was the Everything is an Illusion podcast with myself, Rob Wallace, and Greg Andrew, the bearded master of sci-fi. We are sponsored by Health Made Simple, selling a book for £10, paperback, ebook £3.45. Obviously, you can get it in dollars or euros, and the pound is pretty shit at the minute, so you get it nice and cheap. Also selling fantastic t-shirts at the Energetic Mind, another sponsor of the day, thought-provoking t-shirts and imagery. Check that out, and if you ever need any media, Rob Wallace Media Solutions. Greg, how can people get in contact with you?
Just send a letter to the house, first class stamp, with a stamped addressed envelope inside. I'll write a letter back. If you want to reply, or you could go on a thing called Twitter, I believe it's called Twitter.
Is that new?
It's brand new.
And can you write big letters in it?
You can write as many letters as you... I'm still trying to work it out. But I am B for the CP, BFAETHECP on there. And I would really urge more people to follow me because I am fucking hilarious on Twitter. Honestly, I don't have a wee blue tick or anything. And it baffles me daily.
Do you want to know
Because
something?
I think I'm a fucking comedy genius.
Twitter have just opened up their authentication process to everyone, so you can actually go on Twitter and apply for it just now, and you could have a blue tick.
If I'm really me, I could get a blue tick on Twitter.
But it doesn't mean anything now.
No, exactly. Fucking, I bet fucking Kim Kardashian gets like a gold tick now. She does have bigger tits than me, so that's probably the reason. Although mine are getting quite big these days. I need to hit the gym. The gym. Fuck off.
So
to sum that up, I'm on Twitter.
So that's at B for the CP on Twitter. Excellent. Please feel free to click the adverts on the side. The Google ads, and if you like the podcast, join us on Facebook for some discussion, some Twitter for some discussion, share and like. Hasta la vista, baby. Everything is an Illusion is brought to you by RobWallaceMedia.com, award-winning media. TheEnergeticMind.com, inspirational, motivational and thought-provoking art. And Health Made Simple. Buy today, change your life forever. healthmadesimple.info. Thank you, and remember, question everything.